Hey everyone, Steve Campbell, host of the One Big Thing podcast. This episode today is going to mark a shift in how I record episodes moving forward. From now on, as a listener of this show, you can expect that every episode is going to be about 35 minutes. I know your time is limited, and I've been listening. I want to bring you real insights that can help you move the ball forward. So with every episode starting today, me and my guest are going to get into right away what is their one big thing that they want to share with all of you that can inspire you to move the ball forward. We are going to cover all different kinds of topics moving forward. Still going to be an interview style show. But for example, today I have Charlie Waters on kicking off this brand new way that we're recording. Charlie was a referral to the show. Charlie's going to share how he wants to tell you that you're going to be okay in the season of life. But he's going to share some practical things that he has done to transform his body from 240 pounds down to 198 pounds by different ways of implementing discipline and some daily hacks that you can use to become the best version of yourself. So with every episode, we can talk about things like relationships, money, fitness, parenting, marriage. The one big thing I promise you will become a go-to source if you are in your 30s and 40s and really trying to find resources that can help you move the ball forward. So with that, welcome to your new edition of The One Big Thing and enjoy this episode. Well, welcome to the One Big Thing podcast. I'm Steve Campbell, your host, and I'm excited today to have an unbelievable conversation with Charlie Waters, my guest, who was a referral of a prior guest, and Charlie Hale, the CEO of Shred. You know, I serve as the chief brand officer at my company, been in marketing for almost a decade. Telling stories, protecting brands, communicating is at the heart of who I am as a person. And one thing that I've learned is that I love solving problems and I love connecting people. And so the one big thing is all about helping you that are in the thick of raising families, navigating marriage, trying to become your best selves. How can we help you bring ideas, one idea at a time, that can help you move the ball forward in your life? And so in this episode, you're going to hear from Charlie Waters, who was highly, highly recommended by Charlie Hale. And I want to give him some space here right at the beginning to introduce himself, and we're going to get right into his one big thing. So Charlie, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Charlie Waters from Dallas, Texas, and I am extremely excited to be on the One Big Thing with you.
Yeah. Well, this is exciting. Charlie Hale and I, we became a connection through the Shred app, which is a fitness workout, AI-generated, curated workout program that you can put in your pocket. It's basically like having a personal trainer every day in the gym. When Charlie Hale and I got done, I said, hey, man, who do you know in your world that could really inspire a lot of people? And he said, probably one of our largest advocates at Shred is Charlie Waters. This guy has been through a lot over the last several years. He has transformed his life. He has transformed his body. I think he'd be a great person to have on your show. So today we're going to unpack a little bit of his story. But Charlie, I think to get right at the crux of what this show is about, why don't you tell us, what is the one big thing that you've discovered in this season of life?
So the one big thing is, believe it or not, you're going to be okay.
I love that. As we were preparing for the show, it's a very simple idea. I think a lot of us are going through difficult challenges. Maybe some things have been thrown our way that we may not feel we're prepared for. But again, you don't have a choice. You got to keep moving. So you're going to be okay. So Charlie, when you say that in your world as your one big thing, you're going to be okay. Where does that come from? You know, how did you discover this, or how did you begin to unwind this one big thing in your life?
So 2019, discovered some betrayal, some infidelity in marriage, and it kind of rocked my world, took me up. And my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, that was what they were telling me. You're going to be okay. And at the moment, I didn't believe them. I didn't see how I could be okay. This was just a blind side to me. After 13 years together, 7 years of marriage, it was just the floor was pulled out from under me. And now that I look back in retrospect, 5 years later, I'm better than okay. It's more than I could have ever imagined it being. Just the journey and the process. It was never about a destination. It was always about the journey. And once I discovered that, it was full force. How do we continue to grow? How do we continue to get better than the day before?
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge that you're going to be okay sounds great, but some of us are dealt hands that we never asked for. things that are beyond our control. And when you talk about infidelity or, marriage falling apart, that's not something that anybody ever wishes for, but it's real life. And that's part of this show. That's part of this platform, is let's have real conversations with real people that have gone through things, because I think it's very easy for so many people to kind of suffer in silence. And whether it's a health related issue or relationship issue, bringing those things to the surface and saying you're going to be okay. But again, my heart and passion with the one big thing is not to give kind of cliche or very like large and vague ideas. And then it's like, well, great, I'm going to be okay. But like, what does it actually mean? So walk us back, talk us through. Parents, individuals told you, Charlie, you're going to be okay. You've been dealt this bad hand. You're going through this thing. What was that process like daily? What did that look like since 2019? And, now coming out of it and the amazing work that we're going to get into that you're doing, like, what did that process look like from 2019, and how have you began to implement this reoccurring narrative that you're going to be okay through all the things you've been through?
Yeah, I think immediately I jumped into therapy at the recommendation of a former boss who was going through the same thing, and jumped into it and couldn't even get a sentence out when I sat on my therapist's couch before I started bawling, because my world was wrecked. I didn't know what to do. I was lost and kind of wandering aimlessly at that point. So she asked me what I like to do. I said, well, I like to golf and I like to go to the gym, but I feel like I'm just going through the motions just to maybe get out of the house, because I didn't realize at the moment in time how miserable I actually was. And so I found Shred and downloaded it. Couldn't tell you where I found it, how I found it. For some reason, it just came up and I downloaded it. And that was probably the end of July whenever I was rocked with this news. And the first week of August started working out and just putting my full effort into using the app every day. And once the free week was gone, I just kept doing, just the free version, and worked and started doing 2-a-days and found David Goggins and Jocko Willink and the support of my family. And through a 16-week process, I dropped 40 pounds. People were, reaching out to me like, well, what are you doing? Like, how are you managing this? And I can joke about it now. I said, well, 20 pounds of it was the divorce diet, and I don't recommend it, but, following along with the app and just being mindful of being able to do that and continue with the therapy. So it was not only focusing on working out and clearing the mind, it was also doing the work inside therapy sessions to kind of work through this situation. And at that 16, 17-week mark, my therapist looked at me and she said, you've come through this faster than any person that I've ever worked with. What's going on? How are you doing this? And my simple answer was, I just do it. And that's, I think, because I found Stoic philosophy to endure without complaint and work through it. The only thing you can control is right here between your head. And so that's kind of what I focused on, is what my thoughts were, what I was saying about myself, and what I was doing to hold myself accountable every day.
Man, there's a lot we got to unpack there. Okay, host of the show, kudos to you for seeking therapy. I've had guests over the last year plus that, depression is real, anxiety is real, mental health is real. And I think sometimes there's a stigma upon raising your hand or reaching out to a professional because you can't fix yourself. It's very easy for us to encourage a Charlie when it's not your life and say, dude, you're going to be okay. But when it's your own life, sometimes to get out of that stinking thinking, your own between your heads, like you said, especially when you talk about marriage, a partner who chose to leave, that could, demoralize any person who felt like, man, we were in this together, value all of that. So seeking therapy, step number one, for anybody that's out there who just feels kind of stuck in a rut, use Charlie's experience to help you understand that, like, you're going to be okay, but there probably is some necessary steps that is the difference between staying where you are and getting to what you're doing. So in everything that you just said, the implementation of it, you sought therapy, you discovered the Shred app, but you also mentioned in our pre-call and even today that there has been some books and some people that have influenced you, and you've begun to probably fill your mind and life with the narratives that you want to hear. So even discovering, some of these books, like, did your therapist recommend to you, Charlie, you got to seek out resources with that? Was that just something that you naturally did? And what did that process look like for you for discovering some of these, men that have really inspired you?
Yeah, my therapist recommended Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. That was one that I started listening to. But one of my best friends, I remember him calling me one night, asking me what I was doing, and I was kind of just moping around. And he said, "Come over." And I was like, "Nah, I'm okay." He's like, "Come over, or I'm going to come get you. I just sent you my address." And so he was a huge advocate. He knew what was going on, and he was the one that turned me on to David Goggins. And he sent me a free version of his Audible, Can't Hurt Me, and I listened to that story. It was, I think, a 23-hour audiobook. And working as a salesperson at the time, I traveled a lot, so it was a lot by car. So I was able to listen to that. And about a third of the way in, that's when it was that instant moment, that flip switch of taking souls. If you haven't read or listened to David Goggins, I highly recommend him. If you don't feel like ever going to the gym, just turn him on for about 5 minutes and you will feel definitely like you need to get off the couch and go. That's what I do if I have one of those I don't feel like it days. But it was that taking souls and the 40% mindset. When you feel like you're done, you're only 40% completed. You have 60% to push through to maximize the effort that you're putting out. And his story of going through buds and all of that, and that led me into Jocko Willink and Jordan Peterson and all of these other great minds, Alan Watt, and just listening to these great philosophical minds. Ryan Holiday is another one with the Daily Stoic. It was just, you start listening to one and that leads into a rabbit hole, and you just kind of follow and start looking at these things and reading about them and listening to what they have to say. And some things will resonate and some things won't, with your listeners and your viewers. But David Goggins is that one person that he's very empathetic, but he won't take pity on you. And that's kind of where I've been able to, I guess, reimagine how I go through life. I'm very empathetic to people and their situations, and I want to help them and I want to encourage them. I don't
Mhm.
want to motivate. I think motivation is a fleeting emotion, and it's there for 15 minutes, and then what? I watch a
Right.
motivational speech and like, okay, cool. But if you could be inspired by something and commit to yourself, then that's where the catalyst lies.
Yeah, and you've been an inspiration, Charlie, to so many people. For those that are here to champion you, welcome into the podcast. I think you're going to want to stick around for a lot of other guests like Charlie that are an inspiration to many. Because I think when you had started from what I've experienced in 2019, the shape of your body, the weight you were carrying, what you had talked about, to where you are now, I mean, you use an app called Shred and you're absolutely shredded. So I think what's cool about your story is the idea of like victimhood and people that have gone through difficult things, like, acknowledge it. But our culture and our society almost wants you to stay there and stay stuck because you've
Yeah.
gone through things. But you have found a way to break the mold. And it's been through things like therapy, like we discussed. So if that is real and something you need to seek out, don't be afraid to do it. If that's the only thing you take from this episode, we've done our job. But we also just gave you some resources: David Goggins, Jocko, some other people. We'll put it in the show notes. What you feed your mind, what you listen to, can really change and shift the synopsis and things in your brain. But what's cool is that when you begin to seek resources, algorithms will suggest similar type people. And what you find is that sometimes you just stumble into influencers and speakers and motivators, which then leads you to other people. So seeking out podcasts, seeking out books that can shape your life. But you and I had also talked about the Shred app. And so I know that, it's been very popular since I started the show. Health fitness is, one, two, top of mind for individuals. But you have completely shaped and sculpted your body, and you're now an advocate for Shred. You're a part of their affiliate program. You're doing great work as one of the spokespeople for it. For those that, are looking for a spark in their life, they're carrying the extra 10, 15, 20 pounds. And you had just shared, when you feel like you've done everything you can, you've only given 40%. I'm thinking about the husband, the wife, the parent that's like, dude, I'm tapped out. Like, I got nothing left to give. Kids have stressed me out, inflation, the cost of things, work. I just don't feel like taking care of myself. What do you mean I'm only at 40%? That can scare a lot of people. And I think one of the things that you and I had touched base on leading up to this was just get 1% better every single day. And it's kind of this concept that you talk about. So, what does that look like? How do we inspire the listener who feels like, guys, I got nothing to give, but I want to be inspired? I want to be, I want to change my life. How has Shred helped you, for those that don't understand really what it is? Like, how have you implemented that in your life? And how can somebody, go start to do some of these things that you've done? Hey guys, Steve Campbell, host of The One Big Thing. Want to talk to you about one of my favorite sponsors of my show. Today I'm going to talk to you about Shred. Shred is like having a personal fitness trainer right in your very own pocket. A friend introduced me to Shred a few years ago, and it forever changed the way that I work out. Raising 4 kids, being married, there are a lot of demands on my life right now. Sometimes my own personal health can take the back burner to the roles and responsibilities that I have. And I think many of us are searching for a spark or resources that can help you. This is why I want to talk to you about Shred. Shred is a simple to use app that is in your phone that will ask you every single time you log in how much time you have. It will suggest types of workouts. And if you don't know what you're doing, there's videos, there's trainers, there's education, but there's this unbelievable online community that's willing and ready to champion you whenever you log into that app. So if you're looking for real life transformation, whether you've been in the gym your entire life or you've never even stepped in one, Shred app has to be your go-to number one source for jumpstarting your personal fitness. Huge fan and advocate of it. I believe you will be too. So check out the Shred app today. And if you are a listener of The One Big Thing, there's a promo code below that you can use to get 20% off after a free week's trial. So be my guest, check out Shred. It will forever change your life. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I mean, I owe everything to Shred. I'm forever indebted and forever grateful to Charlie Hell and his team. They changed my whole world. And, I get a little bit of emotional talking about it because I look, and if I hadn't found that app, I don't know where I would be. So I'm forever indebted to them. But the one thing that you can take with Shred, you can take it anywhere. I travel for work. I cover 3 states. And I can take this app and find a gym or find the hotel gym and customize it to exactly what equipment that I have. So that's the start. And those parents that feel tapped out, they're maybe scared by the 40% that I spoke about. Just do it. Just once you start that workout, even no matter how tired you are, you will feel so much better when you completed it. You will feel accomplished. You will have much more energy to now go play with your kids. You won't have to just take a break. You can go out and do more things with them because you've just released that dopamine and that serotonin. By all means, I'm not a nutritionist or a neurologist, but I just know that that's what happens for me is that those brain chemistry signals kick off whenever I'm in the middle of a workout. And, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, go work out. Yeah, I'm dog tired, but about halfway through my first set, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. So for those parents that, maybe tapped out, just start 30 minutes and you will find the energy through the workout, and you don't have to think about it. It's all in the app. Just download it and start doing it. All it takes is that first step, day one, and you'll be hooked.
Yeah, and your story has been an inspiration, even though you're not trying to be a motivator, in that way, because you can see the actual physical change. And I think that's one thing is when it comes to the physical aspect of life, losing weight is a clear sign that you're doing something different. Mental health is harder to gauge where somebody's at, right? Other than body disposition, the way they carry themselves. You could have people that look like they're on top of the world, but they're broken inside. And
Yep.
so I'm a huge advocate for Shred too. Again, that's how we got connected because I had grown up, playing Division I sports, was an athlete my entire life, used to do combinations of different workouts, P90X, things I had trained in college, and was basically just trying to escape, from being a dad, getting to the gym, having my alone time, and kind of just walking around and being like, what am I going to do? Becoming stagnant with it. And a buddy of mine who is chiseled, like you, a dad, a husband, somebody that is immediately in my world. You go to the ball field, you go around your community, and, I got guys I went to high school with, and just people like you see as men, when responsibility increases, what usually gets put on the back burner is your own personal health. And what inspires me is when I see dads that are in great shape, and they're taking care of themselves and they're put together. It invites you to want to go and be like, dude, what's your story? Like, what are you doing? And every guy wants to share, and male, female, doesn't matter. But I had a buddy of mine who was at the gym, and he, was cut like the Rock. And I was like, man, what are you doing? He's like, I use the Shred app. And I think what's cool about the One Big Thing is I want to have conversations for individuals to share what's helped us. Try Shred. If you don't like it, don't use it. It could change your life though. And to have, a CEO on a show talking about the thing that he created, gosh, you'd hope he'd be the biggest champion of what he made. But to have an actual user, I think only extends it. So Shred is an AI curated, mobile app that can help you, as you said, where you are, take away all the guesswork. And I think for people that are in their 30s and 40s, the last thing that they want to do is show up to the gym and, look at the machines and wonder what they should do. This thing in your pocket every single time that you're ready to go to the gym is going to basically have timers and videos and show you how to do it. But I want to come back to, and we'll include in the show notes how you can get access to the Shred app. Go try it free for a week. It could change your life, like Charlie said. One of the things that you had talked about when you just look at that journey from afar, you might have somebody who does not feel good about their body. They look at you and they're like, gosh, I would love to look like Charlie Waters, but I just ate crap last night. Or every time I go to make a decision, I don't make the right ones. And some of the things you said is like, I don't feel like it, the emotional side of things. But as you and I were prepping for the show, talking about your one big thing, you kept coming back to this idea of just get 1% better. And so I think sometimes when we talk about life change, we want to go from like where we are to the total transformation tomorrow. And then when that doesn't happen, we feel defeated or feel like we couldn't do it. So talk to me about this 1% different. Is it just when it comes to workouts? Has this 1% mindset like filtered into other areas of your life? So for you, Charlie, what does that 1% difference look like? How have you implemented that? Especially let's get into on the days you don't feel like it. Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think you can break the 1% better down into just personal accountability. It's saying you're going to do something and doing it for yourself. So for
Mhm.
me, I picked three things. It's something that Tom Bilyeu from Quest Nutrition and Impact Theory uh, talked about. And he just said, pick three things that will make you accountable every day. So first thing is wake up, make the bed, get to the gym, work out very hard, and then come home, shower, and end with a cold shower. Last, you know, 30, 90 seconds, just all cold. That's something that you don't want to do. You don't, but it pushes your mind to get through it. And it's the cold plunge and all of that. It's that kind of mindset is pushing your mind and making your body follow into that. So if you can find those three things and do them every day, then you're working slowly towards that 1% better. It doesn't have to be the three things that I picked, but just something that you can look back at the end of your day and reflect saying, oh, I did that. I win. That's a win for the day. You know, if it's a 30-minute workout, that's a win for the day. If it's a 30-minute walk, that's a win for the day. You don't have to start off in the gym. You don't. If you feel uncomfortable and you're not confident in it, um, just take a walk. It's a
Mhm.
great exercise. I do that at the end of my day with my dogs, and it's about an hour, 2 hours. But 5 years ago, I could barely get that going. I was 240 and just about 20+% body fat. So I talk about someone who didn't feel confident. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me. That's kind of how I get through it.
I love that idea of the three things because it simplifies. I think when you talk about life change, it's so overwhelming to think about introducing change of any level because we think we have to change everything simultaneously. We can be inspired looking at your picture and seeing the shape you're in or watching a reel or whatever of you and being like, man, I want to look like that. And that can look like going to your kitchen and throwing all the bad food out and cleaning out your refrigerator and going and trying to buy whole foods. And it's too hard. to go from what you've been doing to implementing such extreme change. But three things for you, you said it was getting up same time every day, making your bed, going to the gym, however long you're going to work out, but going hard when you're there, and taking a cold shower. What is it for you as a listener that you can do that every day that can make you feel like it's a good start to the day? Making the bed for me, big thing too. My physical environment is key to me. If my bed is messy, it's almost like my life is messy, and that's a little extreme. But feeling like that bed's made, feeling like I did it, you're beginning to train yourself that there's a level of excellence that I have to hold myself to. And for me as a dad, like I can't expect my kids to do things that I'm not even willing to do myself. And I have to fight the idea of, I think I'm really good at starting things. So when I get to a point of not feeling great about myself, my body, my mind, my parenting, I think I'll go seek resources, I'll implement change, and I'll get really good for 4 or 5 weeks. And then I have a crash. And so even you and I were talking about, like, my biggest blind spot weakness is how to avoid the crash. And I think it's because I'm guilty of trying to better myself, which is a good thing, but going to such extremes so quickly that it's like sprinting every time you go to run, and then like wondering why you're out of breath and you can't keep going. So I know for me, even this concept of just do 1% better, actually for this conversation today, knowing I was going to meet with you, talk about level of accountability, I needed to make sure I got up this morning, my alarm went off 4:40, and I sat there for half a minute and was like, do I really want to go to the gym today? And then I was like, you know what? Charlie Waters would go to the gym. And I went to the gym, and I didn't have an hour and a half workout. I did a chest workout, and I did it for 37 minutes, but I felt good, got something in. It's better than doing nothing, 1% better. So for anybody that's out there today and you're like, man, what does this look like? The one big thing, you're going to be okay. Is there anything, Charlie, as we bring these last few moments here to a close, like within saying you're going to be okay, is there anything else that if you could talk to an individual person, if we were in the car with a person or at a coffee shop with them saying you're going to be okay, like how has the fitness in that like seeped over into other areas of your life? And when you speak with people now to give back what you've been learning, like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think it was starting at the gym was all for the mind. That's what it
Mhm.
was. The physique was a byproduct. I could not have foreseen the level of fitness that I'm in now. Um, and I'm, like I said, I'm still grateful for it. Um, but I think with starting out as a purpose of clearing the mind and finding a sanctuary or be grounded, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, whenever you want to work out, do it. It was all for the level set, clearing the mind, and the physique was all secondary. So um, I think with running into people on the street, I get it daily. When I'm walking the dogs, I'll have people stop and say, "Man, what are you doing?" And it's, hey, here's the QR code. Scan this. Use my reference. Get you a free week and just start. And I think it's like you mentioned going to the fridge and throwing out all the bad food, and it doesn't have to be that either. It can be an 80/20 rule where you're clean eating 80% of the time, and 20% of the time you're enjoying and you're indulging. And as long as there's that balance of working out and eating right most of the time, you'll see results. You can't outwork a bad diet. I mean, I've learned that. That was something I learned very early on. I'm still a sucker for sweets. So when people ask, "Do you even eat?" I'm like, "Well, I kind of have to." But I mean, I'm always working out and always pushing myself. So yeah, I'll eat a pizza, I'll eat a burger, but I'm mostly eating, lean meats and rice and things like that. But it's just giving them that perspective that if you just do that one thing and get 1% better for the next 90 days, you won't even recognize yourself in the mirror. And that's the only person that's going to hold you accountable is who you see in the mirror.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of what I tell people.
yeah, and you get into that with Jocko and David Goggins is how raw they are when it comes to you are your own best champion and your own worst enemy. And it's,
Yeah.
if you don't like what you see in the mirror, if you don't like the way that you're responding to your spouse or to your kids, no one is going to change that for you. And so again, to have a platform where we want to acknowledge these are real things, things we're all battling, but it's like, what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to continuing on and being miserable or being stressed out or having, an angry household where everybody's yelling, we don't feel good about ourselves? Or can Charlie's, story inspire you of what would it look like for listeners of the One Big Thing? It could be fitness, it could be health, it could be your finances, that people want to be around you because you're doing something that they're gravitated towards, like wanting to become. How amazing would that be that you could inspire and change one person's life at a time, but you can't even begin to do that if you don't first take care of yourself. And so I think, for this episode, it's been kind of a master class on, you gave a couple of ideas. Name 3 things that you can do every single day that can at least ground your day and get you started. And you're going to know if you don't do those 3 things, like you feel a little bit off, it might force you to go do it. But pick 3 things that you can start to work on. I think getting an idea of 1% better, you kind of maybe didn't even realize you gave a 90-day window. That's a season of the year, 3 months. Give yourself 90 days. We're not talking about, 90 years. If you're not happy with where you are in whatever season of life, whatever role you're thinking about, it doesn't have to be fitness. If there's an area of life where you just said, man, I wish I was better in, how can you over the next 90 days bring 3 things to that part of your day every single day that can help lead to accountability, discipline, mind change? And I'll add this. I was listening to a doctor who talked about, you want to start to rewire your brain. And he, outside of the great books and the thinking and the thoughts and the self-talk, he said, do things with the other hand that you would normally use your dominant hand for, and force yourself to do it. So if you brush your teeth with your right hand every day, you probably just don't even unconsciously think about how you do things. He said, when you're in a mirror and you're used to brushing your hand with one hand, force yourself to do it with the other hand. It's going to seem so weird. But he said, if you'll do that for a week straight, your brain will just begin to unwind. And it's kind of like the idea, if you've ever, done an update on your computer or your iPhone, or you've cleaned out any kind of IT or data, the more things that don't belong in this day that shouldn't be there that you can clean out, the faster the processing systems work. So what would it look like for you and I as people if our processing system was humming on all cylinders? So let's go inspire some people. Your one big thing today is that you are going to be okay. No matter what hands you've been dealt, you're going to be okay. But as Charlie said, there might be some action steps that you need to take. It's one thing to acknowledge you're going to be okay. For him, it was therapy. For him, it was finding the Shred app. For him, it was finding resources that he could listen to and read, with the whole idea of let's get 1% better every day. So Charlie Waters, thank you for being my guest on the One Big Thing. We will put some contact information in the show notes. I know Charlie would love for you to follow him on Instagram and just the videos he makes. He loves connecting people. Don't be a stranger. Partner, you were absolutely awesome. And thanks for coming on and helping us all move the ball forward together.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate it.
That was a great episode with Charlie Waters. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm giving you the greatest content I can. So in the show notes, we will put a lot of the references that Charlie talked about in this episode. If you're trying to transform your body, Shred is a great app that you can use, an in-home gym in your pocket. You can look at the show notes down below, get a link to the Shred app. We'll put some of the influencers that he talked about in Jocko and David Goggins, so that if you want to listen to people that can help inspire you, those will be in the show notes as well. You can connect with Charlie. But here's my ask. If there's people that you want to hear from, influencers, professionals, authority figures that can speak about different topics, reach out to me. Head over to nqrmedia.com. That's nqrmedia.com/the one big thing. And you can contact us. Let me know of the topics that you want to hear about, and if there's any speakers that you'd love to hear from. Me and my team would love to reach out to them, try to get them on the show, again, to try to help you move the ball forward. So as always, thanks for being my guest on the One Big Thing, and change is on the other side of the 1% difference you're willing to make today.